This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. The tussle for Taswater ownership continues, with the local government association vowing not to give up in its fight to remain council shareholders. It's just a day after the state government released the takeover legislation, set to face its biggest test in the upper house.
It's the government's continued sell for a Taswater takeover, and it seems they have the Medina Mayor convinced.
The government are talking at a faster rate. Look, I want the fastest and the best for our community.
After ongoing issues, the township went on to a permanent boil water alert in October last year. Taswater is promising a new water treatment plant for August next year.
It's a very short time frame given the complexity that is involved in the design of water treatment plants.
And the reason why we are visiting communities that have been affected for so long is that they're wondering what on earth is happening and why hasn't it happened sooner.
The Mayor says he'd be happy to sell his shares, but the local government association's not convinced councils can avoid financial implications.
I've said to the Treasurer before, you can have our share for $20.6 million, which is the audited value of our water share.
They've talked about long-term dividends for the next 5 years, but after that, the modelling shows that councils would receive nothing because of the debt.
A cost concern shared by the opposition as the government promises lower water and sewerage costs.
Somebody has to pay for the cost of that. It's an extra $437 million that Tasmanians can't afford, because it'll mean money not going to health and hospital systems or not going into our schools.
We have additional scope within our plan to invest in these projects, and there will be no increase in cost for customers.
The takeover legislation will face its biggest test in the upper house, with Parliament resuming in August. It's following recent legislative defeats for the government, a defeat of this bill likely to see the Liberals seek a mandate at the upcoming state election.
But if it's a dumb idea, I can't believe that Tasmanians will support it.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
The Latrobe Council is considering constructing flood banks or levees along the Mersey River to protect the town against future natural disasters. It's engaged power and water consulting firm Ensura to conduct a $180,000 study to determine if the measures are needed.
A town still struggling a year after being hit by a major flood, now trying to protect itself for the future.
We believe we owe this to the people of Latrobe. We owe it to our community to make sure that this is looked at and the question answered once and for all.
Latrobe is still cleaning up from the June 2016 floods. The mass of water forced homeowners to evacuate. A 75-year-old woman who lived in the town also lost her life. Many questions have since been asked, including, is it possible to protect Latrobe from what happened?
And if so, how do we go about it?
Tasmanian consulting firm Ensura, which is a division of Hydro, has been engaged to answer that question. It's been given 9 months to prepare a study looking at a potential levy and at increasing the storage capacity of Kings Creek, which runs through the town's main shopping hub. Most residents support the $180,000 review and the suggested levy.
It's prone to flooding, and it's the best situation. Well, I think it should, because it put a lot of people out of business down that end.
How far a flood bank or levee should stretch along the river will form part of the study. One thing that is clear is if it's deemed to be the best way forward, it won't be cheap.
Over $10 million I would expect. We'd absolutely need funding from the state and federal governments to support the input we would have as a local government sector. But yeah, really expensive but worthwhile. I think Longford proves what can be done.
Both major state political parties say they will look at the study once it's completed next April. If infrastructure mitigation measures are found to be inappropriate, the council says its priority will be developing a state-of-the-art flood warning system. Monica Dadson, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanians' use of the drug ice has tripled over the last 3 years, according to a national report released today. 46% of people identified methamphetamine or ice as a problem, up from 16% in 2010. Every 94 out of 100 people were found to relapse after 3 years being off the drug. A spokesperson for Rural Health Tasmania says prevention rather than treatment needs to be a key focus in the community. The consequences of the Pacific oyster mortality syndrome continues to affect Tasmanian farmers, but new South Australian hatcheries are said to help safeguard the industry. Local oyster growers say they needed to innovate their practices or the industry would have buckled under the strain.
Ben Cameron is a third-generation oyster farmer. Following the devastating impact of the Pacific oyster mortality syndrome, Mr Cameron says the family company, one of two major hatcheries in Tasmania, needed to innovate to ensure viability.
Through becoming more efficient and finding better ways to do things, we can limit the increase in cost so that oysters don't fall off the menu.
This innovation is in the form of a hatchery based in South Australia, a business decision to help overcome the shortage of spat caused by the 2015 natural disaster.
Sort of shifting states and that is something very new to us, but yeah, doing well over there. We've put out plenty of oysters and farmers are starting to see oysters coming out of the hatchery and back onto their farms, so they seem pretty happy.
The other major Tasmanian producer, Shellfish Culture, has also opened in South Australia. This biosecurity facility can produce over 300 million spat a year.
Strategically, if POMs ever came to South Australia, hatchery here can then respond straight away, as we did in Tasmania, to ensure recovery of the industry.
Anything that can ensure the industry against possible outbreaks is a good thing.
Under biosecurity laws, our local industry can't export to interstate markets due to the threat of the disease spreading nationwide. Mr Cameron says the cost of production is continuing to rise, and without these safeguards interstate, it could buckle under the strain.
That has to then get passed on to the farmers and then eventually to the consumers. And at some point in time, people are just not willing to pay what it costs to produce.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania is benefiting from a rising population, with our growth rate now the fastest it's been in 6 years, according to the latest ComSec report. We're ranked third in the country for population growth. The State of the State Economic Report attributing the figures to a strong housing market and improvements in unemployment. Tasmania is leading the country on annual employment growth. However, there was a slump in business spending. Overall, Tasmania sits equal fourth with Queensland on economic indicators. The state government believes the sale of Murray Goulburn's Victorian Kiwa Country Milk brand and associated assets is promising news for Tasmania. The milk processor announced earlier this year its Edith Creek facility in the state's northwest is one of three it's closing. It's understood now the Kiwa sale is underway. The Edith Creek plant sale can now be prioritised and potentially a new owner for the facility can be found. Murray Goulburn also today cut its forecast milk intake for the 2017-18 financial year, but says it has not impacted farmgate milk prices. A last-minute entry at an auction in Launceston over the weekend has exceeded selling expectations, with a one-of-a-kind number one number plate fetching a massive $310,000.
Single-digit number plates are apparently really big business, and it's just starting to kick off in Tasmania.
The auction house said it had expected a six-figure number and were overwhelmed by the high price. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed lower, with energy companies and banks leading a widespread sell-off. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 34.7 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 79.26 US cents and 67.96 euro cents.
Stan Glenorchy coach Aaron Cornelius says his side aren't getting as many favours from the umpires as their opposition this season. The Pies lost by just 4 points to rivals North Launceston on the weekend, with Cornelius claiming more free kicks should have gone their way. If this reaction is anything to go by, the weekend's grudge match with the Bombers was one the Pies were desperate to win.
I think the most disappointing part is we sort of ran out of legs towards the end. Rotations really hurt, losing players and having guys on the field that weren't at 100%.
Cornelius believes another contributing factor in the 4-point loss could have been the umpires.
A couple of free kicks that we certainly thought in front of goal that could have went our way, a couple of high free kicks, and continually over the last few weeks. I'm not sure whether it's the way we're playing or what it is, but we are giving away too many free kicks.
And the Glenorchy coach says it's been a reoccurring theme throughout the year.
We are putting a lot of pressure on, but it seems that we're not getting as many holding the ball calls going our way as sort of the opposition, so it's frustrating at times.
Holding on to top spot with the win, the Bombers are readying themselves for another crack at premiership glory.
We're getting close to the way we want to play our footy, so it was good to have that in a finals like intensity game, especially against Glenorchy. We've had such a good rivalry over the last couple of years, so we always look forward to playing them.
And the Pies weren't the only side who felt hard done by, with Tigers coach Aaron Vince frustrated after what could have been a massive win for his young side over Launceston, with the Tigers also going down by just 4 points.
There was a call late that probably we thought should have gone our way, which ultimately, they got the winning goal out of that, and obviously that's probably disappointing.
And the votes are in for the RACT Insurance Player of the Year in the TSL after round 16, with North Launceston Vice-Captain Brad Cox-Goodyear continuing to shine for the Bombers. Ray Hill was the standout in Lauderdale's easy win over Devonport. Wade Wall earned himself the 3 votes in Clarence's thumping of Hobart City, and Tigers backman Mitch Carter may have been in the losing side, but did enough to get the votes against the Blues. To the leaderboard, and Jay Bowden remains on top with 15 points, while Cox-Goodyear is now sitting equal second with teammate Tom Couch on 12 points, with Lauderdale's Thor Boscott just 1 vote back. Launceston City are holding on to hope of playing in the end-of-season League Cup tournament after a gutsy 3-1 win over Kingborough, but they've still got some work to do, sitting just 1 point ahead of the Lions at 6th spot on the ladder. They had it all their own way at Lightwood Park yesterday, but that certainly hasn't been the case for Launceston City this season.
It's been a stressful season by a long shot, and now the goal is just to get into that top 6 place, and hopefully make a run in the League Cup. So, overtaking Kingborough in that 6th spot was massive.
It now means the side has still a chance of playing in the NPL end-of-season League Cup tournament, giving some renewed belief at the club after an up-and-down year.
Even when you play the bigger teams, you can scrap points off them. So I wouldn't say that we're safe by any means. We got to keep pushing and hopefully get 3 points against Clarence here next week.
Meantime, Tasmanian-born teenager Ariane Titmus has made her arrival onto swimming's world stage, finishing 4th in the 400-metre freestyle final at the World Championships in Budapest overnight.
I think we'll have the back end there to bring it home, but it's still faster than when I did trials, and I got 4th at World Championships, so
Earlier, the 16-year-old broke her own national age record in the prelims before clocking the same time in the final, with 11-time world champion Katie Ledecky taking gold.
It's just a really good learning experience, and I can get recovered for tomorrow, and then I have the 200 on day 3.
Tasmania's best Formula One hope, Alex Peroni, is heading home for a well-earned break, currently sitting 8th in the Drivers' Championships in the Formula Renault Series. Overnight, Peroni finished 12th in Race 2 at the Euro Cup in Austria. And Hobart cyclist Madeline Fashnat has backed up her individual time trial gold medal effort with a bronze medal performance in the road race event at the Commonwealth Youth Games in the Bahamas overnight. And just finally, a North Launceston player has earned himself a mention from an AFL great, but for all the wrong reasons, with Jason Dunstall taking aim at Jake Pearce on Fox Footy's The Bounce last night, following this shot on goal against Glenorchy over the weekend.
Pearce goes the dribble kick. Oh my goodness, Jason Dunstall would be furious.
Now, Jake, there is a very good reason that we put a giant water-filled ditch between the mainland and Tasmania. Thank goodness you are on the other side. In fact, you should be heading further south, my friend.
To be honest, I don't think too many people watch The Bounce, but I'm obviously wrong. So, as I said, there's not much I can really say. It was a spur-of-the-moment kick, and yeah, I caught what I deserved, I suppose.
He certainly did, and it's safe to say Pearce won't be taking any more dribble kicks anytime soon. Now, Joe, Jake is actually a good friend of mine, and I can say that Glenorchy player is the only target he's managed to hit all year as well.
Good evening. Well, an aggregate of 48 today across the population centres, but temperatures were below average, just 13 the best, recorded by Friendly Beaches, Bridport, King Island and St Helens. Wynyard Grove, Bushy Park and Flinders Island 12, Low Head 11, Strawn 10, Lyoweeney a top of 4 today. A convective warm front is ahead of a low pressure system located south of the Bight. There is low level cloud, not much of it over Victoria and Tasmania, in a west to southwesterly airstream, mostly clear over the rest of the continent. Here's the low level stratocumulus cloud over the west, south and Bass Strait today, bringing a light shower or two. Tomorrow the high dominates the southeastern parts of the country. The low and associated cold front approaches Tasmania. Winds west to northwesterly at 20 to 30 knots around most waters. Westerlies inland at 15 to 20 knots. Swells in the west and south decaying from 4 to 5 metres. A strong wind warning for all of the coast, apart from the lower east. And for Tuesday, a shower or two in Hobart and 14 degrees, 13 the top for Adventure Bay. Early frost for Tarraleah, showers later, a top of 10. Launceston showery, 14 the top for Devonport. Bridport showers and 14 degrees. Burnie showers and 14, 13 for Strawn. Marrawar showers and 14. While for St Helens, a shower or two, 14 degrees, 15 the top for Swansea with a morning shower or two. I was hoping to bring Whitemark some fine weather tomorrow, doesn't look like it, but a warm night, 6, a top of 14 tomorrow. On Wednesday, showers mostly clearing the north and east in the afternoon. Morning frost and fog on Thursday, ahead of showers for the north and west, and on Friday, showers more likely over the west and south. Showers for Perth, Adelaide and later on for Melbourne tomorrow. A sunny day forecast for Sydney and Brisbane, and Darwin, 33. Partly cloudy and 9, partly clear as well in Hobart, clear in Launceston 7 degrees, partly cloudy and partly clear in Devonport and 8 degrees. Joe, I've held back all year, but I do have to say something about footy tipping this year. It's been atrocious. Most footy tipping competitions are 15 points behind where they were last year. All the wrong teams are winning. Look, Collingwood win on the weekend when you tip them to lose. Not that you... no, what happened? They won, then you tip them to lose. It's all wrong. Carlton lose when you tip them to win, but at least you've made me happy embracing red and white day today.
I wasn't given a choice, Smith. I've got to do some nice things for you. Thank you very much. Well, that's all from the team for now. We will, of course, see you with updates right throughout the evening. Stay warm. See you a bit later.